Welcome to Bada Goodbyes. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. And so we'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals. And then we'll spend part of the show opening a space for contemplation and awe. We'll perform a soundscape of gentleness, of reflection, of delight, and maybe of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. And so perhaps we might acknowledge their passage with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, and with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the Dahl's Jird. The Dahl's Jird is a critically endangered mammal native to the border region of Turkey and Armenia in Eastern Anatolia, specifically the Iğdır province in Turkey. It's a small rodent in the gerbil family, whose body measures roughly 5 inches with a roughly equal length tail. So 10 inches total, whiskers to tail tip. They weigh between 2 and 3 ounces. So this is roughly the weight of a delicate porcelain teacup. And so if you are not yet imagining a gerbil in a fine china cup, please do so now. The Dahl's Jird has an egg-shaped head, very large, dark-colored eyes, moderately sized oblong ears, and a short, rounded, whiskered snout. Their hind limbs are noticeably longer and stronger than their forelimbs. 5 toes on the hind limbs, 4 toes on the forelimbs, all with small claws. The fur of the Dahl's Jird is a pale, sandy, light tan color on their back, transitioning to a lighter, creamy white or pale gray on the belly. The fur is soft and dense. Their tail is long. As mentioned, it's approximately equal in length to the body, and it's covered in short, fine tan hairs with a tuft of longer, darker hairs at the tip. This tail is an adaptation for balance and agility. So it's used for stabilization when the Jird is standing or digging, and when in motion, it serves as a kind of counterweight, helping the Jird maintain balance during quick turns and jumps. The Dahl's Jird, like many mice, hamster, and other gerbil, has specialized cheek pouches used for transporting food. So this is like a flexible, folded up inner lining of the cheek, which can then like unfold and be expanded. And so the Jird can quickly gather seeds, grains, and grasses and stuff them into these cheek pouches. They can collect a large amount of food in a short period to then transport to their burrow, which is a safe place to eat, or they will store the food for later. The Dahl's Jird primarily eats plant material, so these seeds, leaves, stems of barberry, buckwheat, steppe grass. They'll eat fruit when available. And though primarily herbivorous, the Jird may occasionally consume insects as well. The Jird is nocturnal, which means they are most active at night, foraging after sunset to avoid the day's heat and to reduce risk of predation. In the low light of dusk and nighttime, they will quickly gather food, as mentioned, storing it in their cheeks, and then they will transport it to a safe location, all of which minimizes time spent exposed in the open. They have dexterous forepaws, useful for manipulating food items. So for example, holding a seed and using their teeth to remove the shell to get at the nutrient-rich kernel inside. They are both scatter and larder hoarders. So scatter hoarding means they create numerous small caches of food ranging throughout their territory. Larder hoarding means they store food in specific locations within their burrows. The Dahl's Jird exhibits both kinds of these behaviors. Their burrows are dug in sandy soils with a few entrances masked by vegetation, so under shrub or ground cover, which provides concealment, and also the plant's root systems may provide some stability to this loose sandy soil. The burrows have a relatively simple structure with a single main tunnel holding nesting chambers, food storage chambers, and connecting the multiple entrances. Burrows can reach over 20 feet in length and are dug up to 6 feet deep. Unlike some gerbil species that live in large, multi-family burrow colonies, the Dahl's Jird is relatively solitary. So single individuals or just a small family unit of mother and offspring will inhabit a burrow. That said, during breeding season, a male and female may temporarily share a burrow for mating and early raising of young, but the Dahl's Jird does not form long-term mating pairs, and the male will leave after mating or shortly after the young are born. Litters range from 2 to 7 young, and a mother can breed and birth up to 3 times a year. Reproduction generally starts at the end of March, and the gestation period is only roughly 20 days. The young, called pups, are born altricial, which means that they rely on their mother's care for survival. They're born hairless and blind. The mother raises the pups on her own, and once these young reach independence, they disperse from the burrow to establish their own territories and new burrows. The Dahl's Jird is native to the border region of Turkey and Armenia in Eastern Anatolia. This is specifically the Iğdır province in Turkey, north of Mount Ararat in the arid Iğdır plain. This is a semi-desert region of low rolling hills and plains of sandy soils with sparse vegetation. These are drought-resistant shrubs and grasses. The landscape is bisected by dry riverbeds that will only carry water after infrequent heavy rains. Summer high temperatures crest into the 100s, and winter lows drop into the teens. Precipitation is low, with an annual rainfall typically ranging from 4 to 12 inches. A 2022 study found that the Dahl's Jird's range was restricted to sandy plains at roughly half-mile elevation and found only in the presence of the fog shrub, that's PHOG. So they determined that fog shrub seeds comprised 70 to 80% of the Jird's winter food reserves. So heavily reliant on this plant species that grows across the Iğdır plain. The Dahl's Jird also shares the Iğdır plain with red fox, long-tail buzzard, feathergrass, blind mole rat, wild boar, Tristram's Jird, Macedonian mouse, least weasel, bluegrass, European badger, saltwort, long-eared hedgehog, Armenian grape hyacinth, common kestrel, house mouse, barn owl, small flowered catmint, barberry, European hare, gray wolf, beech marten, fernleaf yarrow, milk vetch, migratory hamster, little owl, and many, many more. In the dream, digging. Digging, tunneling, delving, shifting, shoveling, excavating, downward, onward, deeper and deeper into sandy darkness. Burrowing and burrowing and burrowing. For nowhere now is quite safe from the rumbling. in the dream. The Dahl's Jird population has been dramatically reduced by anthropogenic activities, that's human-caused activities, including unsustainable agricultural practices like livestock overgrazing and habitat conversion to cropland, as well as the almost total clear-cutting of the fog shrub for firewood. Other extractive anthropogenic activities threaten the Jird. Industrial sand extraction is reducing viable habitat, and heavy vehicle transport to nearby quarries is causing strong vibration of the sandy soil, damaging and destroying Jird burrows. Human-induced climate change as well is an imminent threat. This already arid, rugged ecoregion will likely see shifts in weather patterns and increasing frequency and severity of drought as continued fossil fuel use results in global temperature rise. Some portions of the Dahl's Jird habitat fall under protected lands, but otherwise, at present, there seem to be no conservation efforts focused on protecting the species. The Dahl's Jird has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 2021, and their population is currently in decline. Our most recent counts estimate that less than 1,600 Dahl's Jird remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the Dahl's Jird was compiled from Animal Diversity Web from the University of Michigan, Biodiversity and Conservation, Volume 25, from the Brazilian Journal of Biology, Volume 82, from the Status and Protection of Globally Threatened Species in the Caucasus Report, conference presentation at the 6th International Conference of Rodent Biology and Management, from the IUCN, from the Journal of Mammalogy, Volume 100, Issue 1, from the United States Agency of International Development, and from Wikipedia. And so, in a moment, I would like to perform some music. in hopes of holding space to be in contemplation of the other lives with whom we share our earth, and in particular about lives we may be overlooking. And so I don't want to suggest that this music is here to give meaning to the Dahl's Jird or to extract meaning from the Dahl's Jird. Instead, I want this music to be about my own humanity and my relationship to other beings. And so we'll sit in the space of contemplation, and I warmly invite you to join me. honor the life force of the Dahl's Jird, I will commit its human name to my record. I am grateful to have shared time on our planet with this being, and I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished this species. I grieve. And so in the name of the Dahl's Jird, I pledge to reduce my consumption and my carbon footprint and my wastefulness. I pledge to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and inactions. I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin and their habitat by individuals, corporations, and governments. I pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bad Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other and all of our kin.